Jess, why don't you go ahead and kick us off here?
All right, sounds good. Well, first, thanks for taking the time to join us for your first recruiting roundtable. Thank you to Haley for organizing it and giving us this kind of space so we can learn from each other, strengthen our recruiting efforts, and hopefully get something out of it today. Um, I'll introduce myself for those that I haven't had the chance to connect with yet. I'm Jessica Moss, the recruiter here at Novus. I've been in the industry almost 20 years. Joined here, Novus, about 7 months ago. Brian and I go back about 15 years, working together for 6 years in the past, building a region near in and around Chicago. So it's great to be back and building again. That's exciting. But yeah, I've had the opportunity to partner with a few of you already, but really looking forward to kind of digging in and making sure we all get to know each other and work on this thing. So today, Haley's going to kick it off by talking through how to vet candidates, specifically just who you should be picking up the phone to call. So we'll start there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. Just to go back to the agenda, this was sent out in the original email. This is a highly requested call, I would say probably for the last 6 or 8 months, nearly the entire time. Jess has been with us now, actually. So finally getting something on the calendar, but we know that we'll continue this series and try to dial it in a little bit more after we get an idea of really what you guys want to talk about, where our knowledge level is at. I know some people are just trying to get back into recruiting. Some people are in process and just trying to sharpen up. So the first thing we're going to talk about is vetting your targets. Jess is going to cover process organization. She's going to talk about some resources that she has and that we've built that we'll share with you. Difference makers, and then Andy Mears, Jason Wiggins, and John McGinty will be discussing the difference makers that have helped them with their success and share some success stories towards the end of the call. So to start out, hopefully, I guess I should make sure that Jenny's on here. She is. Just want to talk about vetting your targets. Obviously, Jenny and I see every single hire that comes in, and we have a pretty good grasp on what flops pretty quick and where we can see success right away. And I want to pull up Redder for those of you who are well-versed and use it on the daily. This won't be anything new for you. And I've been picking on Sarah on this call, which I'm not sure if she's here, but if she is, thank you, Sarah. The first thing that I want to point out, and one thing that Jenny and I always look for when we see infill hires come through, is the job history. This is available to you through NMLS Consumer Access, but it's also right on the loan officer dashboard in Redder. If you see somebody who's been with more than 4 companies in the last 2 years, there would really have to be some compelling story as to how that's ended up. I'm sure there are a few of you who have ended up in that boat, and that's not to say anything bad, but across the board, when we see that, there's just an additional red flag that pops up. Obviously, we can see some nice consistency with Sarah here. We know she's a rock star, so that all pans out. The time period at the top is another thing I'd like to point out. There's a lot of different ways to look at production for an individual here. I would say, first off, you always want to look at the year-to-date, obviously see how things are shaping up so far for them this year. But you have the ability to go back and kind of learn their story before even reaching out. So looking at 2024, 23, and 22 individually, if you're seeing a real decline in volume, definitely something that you want to find out about. Or maybe you decide it's just not something that you want to pursue. If you see an increase, then you can go look at product, maybe what's changed about their business, where have they really dialed things in. The product split is really nice. However, it does not include non-QM, as a separate bucket. So know that most of those are going to get dumped in with conventional. I'll send out a little blurb about that in the follow-up as well. And then the LMI, I wanted to point out, this is definitely an area of note. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to have an impact on every single person, but if you check this out and you see that 25% of their transactions are low to moderate income, they're more likely to hold price. So you're going to have way more, I should say, just limited concessions in general with somebody who's doing LMI. So definitely something of note when you're starting to look at candidates. Jenny, anything from your perspective?
Not really. I mean, this is one thing that I check whenever you guys submit for a new hire. It's one thing that Brian likes to see. What did they close in the last 12 months? Oftentimes I'll ask you guys, like she said, I'll look at the last 12 months, I'll look at year to date, I look at the year before, and then I may ask you for a little bit more of a story. Maybe somebody had a baby, maybe somebody, that kind of stuff. So when I'm asking that for those details, that's because we want to review that, because oftentimes, like she said, you see it and a lot of them flop, where you hire like part-time individuals and they've closed 2 loans in the last 12 months, then they come here and they, don't do anything. So we are going to ask for those details up front. So it's really important to look at this, see what they're doing, because these are the real numbers.
And I think more than anything, it's just that we value your time, just as we value our own. And if it's going to be somebody that's going to be a waste of your time, we don't want you to bring them on. But Redder, definitely a great tool. If there's anything, that you have questions about with Redder, or something that, maybe Redder's totally new to you, you haven't really looked at it deeply before, always welcome to connect with myself, Chris Essenberg, who's on this call as well, if you just want to take a deeper dive into what this could really give you, and I'll have that in the follow-up as well. Any questions on Redder while we're here?
If you don't have Redder, you can get a ticket into branch support and they will get you access.
Real quick thing to add is just to get all that LO information, there's an additional level of access that you want to ask for called LO Recruit. Just putting that out there. On its face, Redder is like the basic version gives you realtor information. Same idea, just for realtors. For the upgrade, you get all the LO information. So.
Hey, Chris, do we have a good rep over at Redder?
We do.
His name is Chris.
Amazing name. So
we are the worst. Can you introduce me at some point? I have a question. I got a weird thing going on with my account. And it's not because I was sharing it with everybody else in my office. I promise.
Yeah, no problem. I will. I'll give a warm little invite email over and introduce you guys, and you can take it from there.
Thank you so much.
Is it the same glitch that you have with Power BI?
No.
You haven't signed into it?
No, actually it's not. Oh, who was that laughing? I don't even need to see his face. No, it's not. Thank you very much. It's the fact that I think Ricky still has 19 lists of realtors that he never called, and now I can't save a single new realtor. So.
You just might need to do a quick dump on yours.
All right, I'm gonna
no comment. Thank you, though.
Pass things back over to Jessica. She's gonna talk about process organization.
I probably don't have the time, to be honest. You guys can go ahead.
All right. So on the screen, you'll see that's an example of an email that I send to a candidate after I have a conversation with them. And then on the following screen, you'll see 3 attachments that I send along with it. So that'll be sent out to you after the call, but it's just a way that I follow up after I've gotten them to speak with me. But what I wanted to go through quickly, and these will be sent out to you as well, is just a little bit of scripting. So I'll send you just a cold outreach script that you can use as you're making calls, and it's just similar to what I use. You can obviously change it and do what you want with it, but there's a cold outreach and then a follow-up script that I'll be sending you, and I just kind of put in there a daily practice might be just to do 1 cold and 1 follow-up for the day. That might get you into the cadence of recruiting. I do a bunch of those every day, but that would be good to kind of get going on your end. And then how to involve me as your recruiting partner is after you make those initial contacts and you've done a follow-up, just loop me in, and then I'll be sure that I'm contacting them in my cycle, which is every 3 or 4 months. And then you get them on my list. I tag your name to them, and then we're in constant contact. And it's just us tag teaming those candidates, and that usually is what works best. I have a different recruiting database that I use, and like I said, I'll just get them into my cycle. So I think that's the best way to work together.
So if I give you a bunch of names that I've been in contact with, but I want to tag team with you, do I just give them to you and walk away?
Probably not. I think it would be best if you keep touching them just as much as I am. So, like, I don't know, product information you might think is interesting to this person. The all company call invite, you might want to get out to that person or have me. I try to do that anyway, but like just interesting things that you might know about the person, like something personal you might know about them and they might think it's great that you just text them, or, just keep in touch. Definitely. Because you're different than me. A recruiter is different than the manager. Obviously that you're more important, and who they want to talk to. So that's why it's a tag team effort, is we can both keep touching them.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. And use the recruiting, chat, our recruiting gossip chat, to talk about other companies and such too. Yeah. And then we will turn it over to the 3 guys that'll be talking a little bit, but I was going to mention that on our next call, I would talk a little bit more or give some resources around, like, after the appointment is set and the cadence that you and I will work together with on getting those recruits in front of department heads and kind of just moving them down the line to close them. So I was thinking that's what we could talk about next, if everybody sees value in that.
Definitely. Thanks, Jess. I just wanted to also make note, these are the main resources that we're utilizing to send out, and probably many of you had received these at some point. I'll have them in the follow-up, but we'll get requests from time to time for, can I have X, Y, and Z? These are really the items that people want to see. And if you look to see, how in-depth most of these go, there really isn't anything that they're not covering. I think from there, if you need to get somebody in touch with a department head or a manager, you can obviously, connect with Jess or connect with me to get that scheduled. But let's be honest, how many people are reading through an entire product overview, to begin with? You can obviously send it, but doesn't always mean they're actually going to run through it. All right, I'm going to introduce our panel for today. We have Andy Mears, who is in the Indianapolis market, Jason Wiggins in the Scranton, Pennsylvania area, and John McGinty, who most recently joined us. He's down in Florida. And I'm going to actually turn this over to John first, just with his freshest perspective on most recently coming through the door just last month. Having worked with Jess already, I'll pass things over to John. Thanks, John.
Great. Thank you, Haley. And it's great to be on board here. I think I'm 3.5 weeks in today, as a matter of fact. So, but thanks for including me in on the meeting. Just for background, I've got about a 30-year history in mortgage sales and mortgage sales management, primarily the Eastern U.S. And just generally, very generally too, out of the gate too. One of the things I want to emphasize is what Jess had mentioned too. Recruiting is hard. It's difficult, and so I think it makes you've got to be consistent to be successful too. In my 3 weeks here, it's been a privilege to work with Jess. Jess, you've been fantastic. We probably talk 2 or 3 times a day. It makes it a lot more fun too. Again, recruiting is not easy, and sometimes it gets a little bit challenging too. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to have your elevator speech. You've got to prepare your value proposition. I in my background, again, kind of 30 years in mortgage, I've worked with banks and with IMBs. And one of the reasons I was drawn to Novus was because of the hybrid model. We are bank owned and we don't have the state licensing restrictions that that other IMBs do too. So it opens up a lot of recruiting opportunity for some of those individuals that might originate in multiple states and still have the hassle and the expense to go through the annual licensing process, state by state licensing process. And the other, obviously, is the with the benefit of the hybrid model is the access to those non-QM products too, which are becoming more and more popular. So, I've had some success in the 3.5 weeks I have been here. Got a lot of contacts in the industry, and was able to kind of pull over a couple of individuals, and I'll just bring up specific examples. Got Jeff Brother out of Chesterfield, Missouri. And Jeff is an individual I've known for a long time. Brought him over from an IMB. Jeff is an individual that was licensed in probably 12 different states, which, again, became a little bit taxing and expensive year over year. He's got national referral sources, and in his mind, coming to a bank just opened up a new world of opportunity to not to have to worry about that, those annual licensing issues too. So Jeff, since being on board now, I think he's got 8 or 9 files that are live already. So just a fantastic job by Jeff coming on board too, and working with our transition team too. Kobe's been fantastic in supporting us as well too. The other individual that we brought on board, he's only been on board for 2 weeks now too, but out of Texas, Billy Holloway, does a lot of the non-QM product too. And I think what stood out to him was pricing. One of the things that we do offer is transparent price. We allow individuals to set their own margins, set their own price. So just doing just when we brought Billy on board, just that recruiting process, doing a quick pricing review with him just opened his eyes to the benefits that we do offer with a very competitive price, especially on those the Govy products and the non-QM products as well too. And then I guess the last thing I'll offer up too is just the Milwaukee visit too. I thought was fantastic too. I spent time with Brian and the other senior leaders in Milwaukee just for a day, meeting with all the department heads. I think I had a couple of sessions with Eric too, which is not common. So it was good to get in and to meet people face to face. I think COVID kind of pushed us into this this world where everything is Zoom or Teams, and but it was absolutely fantastic to get face to face with these individuals that I'll be working with. So. Yeah, so that's it. That's Jess. That's kind of where what I've noticed since coming on board and what drew me to Novus.
John, thanks so much for sharing. Andy Mears, you are up next if you would like to share some difference makers and success stories of people you've been able to bring over.
Sure. I echo a lot of what John just went over. I think this all starts with just this crystal clear in the recruiting world, this crystal clear picture of what your value proposition is. And it's really distinguishing what that value proposition is with Novus and the support that the company provides, but then on top of it, okay, your production center, what makes it unique, and as you go starting to look for candidates, what is that strong value proposition where you can initially make them curious and then through developing trust and a relationship slowly bring them over. So some of the things that I would share just as some real life examples, and then there's a specific niche I want to share with the group that we've really started to exploit. And I think, it's an emerging kind of value proposition for the company that we should be expanding on. But, I mean, John hit it on the head. We've really promote a lot with the non-QM space. And our group even takes that a little bit further because we actually proactively buy leads in that non-QM space and leverage the national reach of the company and licensing to be able. So, not only I can really go after hybrid loan officers and maybe somebody that's not really up on plane yet with wherever they're at, right? They're in a retail specific type model, and they want to do more than the 1, 2, 3 loans a month that they're doing right now, but they don't have the infrastructure or support to do it. Introducing things like that we're ahead of the curve, like with non-QM, and not only do we have those products and processes here to execute on them well, but our group actually provides leads even where they can, take it while they're developing their referral base and whatnot, actually work directly with the consumer on opportunities to grow. So that's one of the big things that I promote, that not everybody maybe on this call at this point, if they're not buying non-QM leads, can't promote, but I'm giving that as an example of something I do. One of the things that's very unique in general with this company, that I mean, the amount of proactive training, especially on the product side of things. I've been around like John for over 30 years, and even in large major banks like Wells Fargo and whatnot. But the amount of proactive product training that's available, candidly, almost at times I have to tell our people, hey, you got to pick and choose. You can't actually sign up for everything. You have to do some originations too. But my point is, our availability of training is beyond what I've seen with really any companies out there, and it's fantastic. So it kind of takes the lack of knowledge off the table, and being able to share that with new recruits is a big thing. Last thing I just wanted to share, I don't even know, Brian, how we're even branding this officially yet. The BDR program, the ability to, candidly be able to pull real estate agents into the actual process with us, participate in that process, and ultimately build them into the process and compensate the agents. I think we're still kind of high level calling it a BDR program in some fashion, or associate LO, or it's changed a few times as I see employment agreements change recently here, but there is a nice niche and a massive competitive advantage that we have as an organization, that I think not only to recruit, obviously, real estate agents to work with us and send us volume, but also to leverage that tool to bring on other bankers and have something that the rest of the industry is still trying to figure out, and we're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, Andy, I'll jump in here for a second, because I want to expand on that. You and I have talked a lot about this, and I think you have two of the most successful relationships, soon hopefully to have a third, that we have internally to this. When the BDA came, maybe to give everybody some color on this, because not everybody's heard kind of how we've arrived at where we are. Probably about 2 years ago, we started working with outside counsel to make sure that we were developing employment agreements that would stick, would work, would accommodate all of the things that happened when HUD dropped their announcements that they were no longer having dual agency concerns inside of there. And so we worked with outside counsel, a couple of different groups, high-level attorneys, developed an employment agreement that we have in place today, modified that employment agreement. And I would tell all of you, I would tell you, maybe tomorrow it gets modified again. It is the challenge with this space, where there's a huge opportunity, is there's also been very little regulatory guidance on it. It's sort of like, well, you try that and we'll tell you when you do it wrong. We're not going to tell you how to do it. We're just going to tell you when you do it wrong. We'll probably fine you in the process. And so we're watching that very closely. Nick, our general counsel, has been to a couple of meetings on it. I'm constantly, reading, trying to find more information on what works and what doesn't work. The most logical opportunity for a BDA is one in the financial planning space. They're a team lead, a broker owner, a builder, somebody who has access to a lot of leads. Andy has found a niche where we've taken high producing, very selectively high producing realtors, brought them into the associate LO position, and they are referring agent. They are not originating, they're not pricing, they're not stating fees and rates, they're not engaged in disclosures and all of what we do at the loan officer level. And that part of it, I think he has the best handle as a leader of any of our leaders in that space. It's a huge opportunity that we have to manage very closely. Some of you are getting chased by Jenny right now with regards to people who we've hired who haven't done anything in 3 or 4 months. That too, you are accountable for them producing at a level that is acceptable per the terms of their agreement. That is realistically 12 deals per year. If they can't do 12, let's not hire them. Let's not argue later about, well, they did 3 loans last year. We're trying to stay ahead of this regulatory bear, and the closer we stay to the employment agreement we've designed, the better. I'll leave it at that, Andy. I just thought it was a good spot to jump in.
And just to expand so everybody gets the value proposition here, if you think about it in our space, kind of back to some of the points John made on the licensing as being a bank, yet we act more like an IMB, right? We get mortgage where most banks, I've worked at the Wells Fargos of the world where mortgage is just a controlled, bureaucratic, tough environment, right? We're fast and on the cutting edge with product and process and training and everything else, right? But having the licensing opportunity here where we can bring on a real estate agent in under 10 days and have them working for us as part of this program, the IMBs literally would have to have that same agent go to take their how many hours worth of class and pass the test before they can do this program. And everybody on this call knows how many real estate agents are actually going to go sit in 40 hours worth of class and pass a test before and go do that just so that they can originate loans. I would say maybe 1 out of 10. So in general, it just gives us a massive strategic advantage here. And then the big banks, the Wells Fargos and the larger banks of the world aren't going to participate and play in this space. So as a smaller regional bank, we just have a massive competitive advantage with this program to not only attract real estate agents to come partner and work with us on a part-time basis, but what a nice value proposition to also articulate to other bankers out there that are struggling to get their business up. So we're slowly figuring it out ourselves. We've only got, like Brian said, we got a couple relationships, but we're slowly getting those dialed in well, and we're trying to stomp on bringing on more of them. So we think it's a big part of the future, and right now we just have a massive strategic advantage, and who knows how long it'll last. So might as well get as many partners set up and on the process as we can now while we're ahead of the curve. So, Haley, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Jason, we'll finish up with you. I would also like to add that, Jason's been super successful jumping into quite a few different markets. So he may be able to expand a little bit on how that's worked out for him.
Well, I'm not going to bore you guys with all my backstory because I don't know if anybody cares. I do have one quick question. Chris, how many buttons today? Is it 1 up, 2?
You can see that I've been taking your advice. You see this? I wasn't quite ready on this call, so I just, we're just at
Yeah.
one.
If you
See
guys
that?
ever talk to Chris and the shirt is wide open, it means he's ready. That means
Yeah.
the conversation is going
That's
to
a
flow.
typical, that's like post afternoon, it's just like I've had all my coffee, I'm ready to go. So, but as you can see today, it's just, it's a
So
little
always
more,
pay attention to what kind of combo you'll get with Chris. The shirt's closed up or open, you'll know.
it speaks
Hey,
volumes.
Hey Jay,
without
if you
saying
won't,
anything.
if you won't do a little lead in for yourself, I'd like to do a little lead in for you because I've gotten to know you over the last, I think we're at 2 years now, aren't we? Wow, that's pretty wild.
I just got my 2 in the mail. Yep.
So,
yeah, there you go.
so
Chris.
Jason joined us as his prior company, and Tony Perry, who I think is also on this call, joined us. Their company melted down. Jay did more diligence on joining this organization than anyone I have ever seen. He probably called 16 or 18 branches before Eric or I even knew what the fuck was going on. And it was sort of like, who is this guy that's banging on all our doors, checking us out? So kudos to the fact that he did all of his diligence. I think he probably regrets some of the diligence he did through the process. He didn't get what he thought he was getting as he walked through the door. He's coming from I'll say a smaller IMB. He thought he was coming to a smaller bank IMB type platform, and I don't think that's what he got. He's boosted his business a ton because of 50 state licensing, something I don't think any of us really pitch. That has to be in our elevator pitch, that piece of it. But to something that Andy said earlier, and very intentionally, we try to overtrain on product. It helps us in a lot of different ways. We're looking for product that sells but holds margin at the end of the day. If you want to be in the VA space and make 42 basis points and that's going to work for you, great. We can't run a company on that. You can't run a branch on that. You can't build something sustainable on that. Jay's done an amazing job coming in to probably where Jay like at 20, 25 million a month. I didn't see your final numbers this month, but you probably pushed on 40 last month, didn't you?
Well, we were 12 to 15 million when we came. And now we're, high 30s, and hopefully we'll be cresting that 40 mark pretty soon here. So, that's ultimately the goal. But, well, thank you, Brian. But, ultimately, guys, that for me, when we from hometown, I remember after they stopped paying us and we were going through the P&L and trying to figure out how much money they owed me, one of the things that I realized is I had 12 state licenses. I was paying $50,000 a year between those licenses plus all the LOs that were on my team to have them licensed in all these states that we were doing 1 or 2 loans a year in. So, when I look at the P&L now and I have zero cost for all these, for the license in 50 states, that's obviously a huge savings. But more importantly, I mean, hell, most of us have been in the business a long time. Like, why am I going to recruit in Scranton? If you've ever been here, like, we're full. But, with adding Angelo to our team, I mean, we've probably got 85% of the business in this market. So there's really nothing else to recruit here. So you got to go outside of the market and, working at 8 different companies. And the reason, guys, that I called 16 branch managers before I would talk to Eric or Brian was I'm not leaving again. I can't, this is too big of a ship to move. It's not fun to move it. You lose people along the way. It's painful. Like, I'm not doing it. So I needed a final spot, after 25 years, this jumping around shit is not for me anymore. Like, that you can dangle all the carrots you want in front. We've got a lot of them here. And, as Andy and John said, I tell realtors the only product we don't have is new construction, and I don't want it. Outside of that, you should give me a shot for everything. But the recruiting part of it, for me, it's been easy. I mean, I've worked at all these big companies. You know what their pain points are, every one of them. So, I mean, that's for me, when I talk to borrowers, it's a value add. I mean, I tell them the reason I don't stop doing loans is because I don't want to forget how hard that part of it is. And, that resonates with a lot of people. The other part, Tony, I saw in there, you're recruiting, you and I have talked about this. Like, we go after people that I can see through Redder need it. They've been at 8 million a year and then dropped back to 6 the last couple of years, or 4. I got a guy on my team. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a $10 million guy, was at 4 million. He's already closed 8 million this year. So, you got to give people, show them what their pain points are, and then show them how we can fix them here and how we can help get their volume up. I talked to Ange today, and he's like, I hear people say all the time, you're going to increase your volume when you come here. Well, not really. It's not like you're going to go get more realtors and do, 24 loans. You're going to increase your volume by doing more products, because we have more here, and learning how to use them. And, that's the stuff I teach people is like, learn how I never did a 1099 loan in my life. I'm turning my first one in, and it's a $1.3 million deal, $810,000 loan amount, and the rate 6.875 with like 75 basis points. And the guy is thrilled as pig shit, and it's a 300 basis point margin for us. I mean, it's a $25,000 revenue loan. It's those are the things like, and you don't learn how to do that. Sherry's 5-minute or 10-minute calls that she does, that little stuff sets us apart. And these loan officers that truly want to grow, this is the place where you come here to grow. And the proof is in the pudding. I tell them the same thing. Call anybody on my team. I'm not going to tell you who to call and ask them why they work here. And that's the message. That's why.
I think you could go back even 2 years ago. You could do the same thing today. When I encourage people, branches that there's an opportunity to bring in the door, like go to novashomemortgage.com, find a couple of branches and call them. Well, who should I call? Well, I don't really want to tell you to call. Call anybody. The story is going to be the same. They're going to tell you about our transparency. They're going to tell you about our process, our platform. They're going to do it as passionately as Andy and Jason, who have been here for an extended term, have done, and how John will do as he gets more and more comfortable with the platform. The big thing that I was on with somebody this morning, and I said, we're not a brand, we're a platform. And the only thing at the end of the day that we sell is sales confidence. Okay. Sales confidence is wrapped up by product and process and people and follow through and doing things that you say you're going to do and shaking a hand and actually getting it done. But it's sales confidence that gets that guy in Jason's office to do 8 million instead of 4 million. They're not afraid to go out and sell. That is a big piece of what we promote, but it's very hard to put it into a capsule or an elevator pitch. It's very easy to see when we do an on-site, to John's comments about coming to the corporate office and doing an on-site. Well, we can't do that with everybody. We can't do that with every LO. But we can do calls. We can do calls with sales leadership. We can do calls with the sales support side, Haley and Jenny. And Kobe, who's a huge part of the success of bringing someone through the door. We can do that with Roseanne and Carrie and others when it's not in a situation where we can bring them in. And I will tell you, you may think this, but everyone is available. May not think this. Everyone is available to you. You just have to respect their time. You can't say, we're going to do a call at 10 tomorrow. You have to figure out whether they're available to do a call at 10 tomorrow. And when you do that and you partner with the folks in the corporate office, you're going to have much more success in recruiting, much more successful recruiting at the end of the day, because this is not about getting more bodies into seats. This is about getting the right bodies into seats. We are picky. We don't want everybody, and we can't have everybody, and we can't have noisy. When we have noisy, abusive people, they're gonna find out pretty quickly that does not get a second run here, because we have got to figure out how to get. We put over 850 people in houses last month. That is a lot of effing work. And your processing team, whether it's in-house or in corporate, your underwriting team, whether it's in the field or whether it's in corporate, your closing team, whether they're in your branch or whether they're part of corporate, those people work their keisters off to make you look good. And that piece, they love to talk about it. Jake, as much as Jake doesn't like talking to people, he loves talking about the successes of his team and his story. All you got to do is ask inside of there. Haley, I'll flip it back to you again here, unless Jake, I think you're done.
I'm done. Yep. Unless anybody has questions or you guys want me to tell a joke or anything.
Yeah, no.
Hey guys, I have 2 questions if I could.
Absolutely.
What are you finding? Denver, not that the rest of the country doesn't, but Denver has a lot of mortgage brokers, and they're all selling to United Wholesaler, Rocket Mortgage. What are you using to try to get their interest besides licensed in all 50 states?
I got a quick one, Bill, on that. Well, we all know that a broker can only make 275 basis points. So if you're going to try to bring somebody over that world, that's how you should create their comp model. So there's apples to apples there. But the bigger part of it, a buddy of mine, he went to whatever bank, Brian, I can't think of the name, and with Milwaukee or Minnesota, he went to. Who's
Illuminate? Illuminate.
No, Granite. No, that's small.
Oh, Granite. Yeah, Granite.
Yeah.
Bank.
So he went there, and he's called me after the first run, and he's losing his mind because their P&L is not transparent. But the reason he left is any broker that's doing like 8 to 12 loans a month themselves is living in a pure hell. I mean, it's absolute torture for them. because it's just a terrible world to live in. So those are the ones that you should be looking on, the ones that are producing. They're the ones that are feeling the pain, and then obviously work backwards. I mean, they all know, like, they talk about the rates. Well, hell, you're, on a conventional or a government loan, your margin difference are going to be 150 to 200 basis points in most cases. So you got to prepare for that stuff. And, that's
Jason, what I've done too is I have shared, normally the top 10 people at Novus annually, and go, how are these people doing hundreds of loans a year without United Wholesale pricing? Let's put it that way.
right.
And that does get their attention. One more question on the compensating realtors. I've gone out to 3 realtors. One runs a small branch, 2 are good producers, and all of them came back just nervous about it. I'm worried about the real estate commission. I'm worried we have to disclose this. Any ideas how to overcome that?
Bill, are you doing those yourself, or is it your people out there pitching it?
Well, I'm doing it myself. So, for example, one high producing realtor that, I can look online. I get about 60% of his business, but I want to get the other 40. And the thought of, okay, I got to log in, even if it's 2 hours a week, I got to do these tests, just didn't motivate him, even though I'd pay him 25 bips to make a lot of money. The other 2, one is a small real estate office in Montana. The other one has a team in Colorado. Good producers, but they're perceiving it's a lot of work is where I'm going. Even though guys, you log in, big deal. Let somebody log in for you. And I'm doing it with the realtor because the problem is, I talked about, what if I gave it to your TC to offset the cost? The problem with that is the TC could end up making more money than they're paying them right now. And what do you do then? So I'm just trying to see any objections.
Why do you have to disclose it, Bill? Like, why do they?
We'll say that again, Jason.
Why do they have to? What are you saying they have to do? They have to disclose? Is that what you're saying?
No, they've got to log in and book a couple hours a week. I know it's no big deal. They've got to take our online classes, no big deal. But mainly they're like, that makes them nervous. Is this going to be an issue with the real estate commission? And I don't know how to overcome that because I don't know the whole background on it.
A couple. I'll just share an example too, Bill, and then also, kind of back to a point Brian just made about use the corporate resources to help you sometimes. I've got one that we're close with that's a really big opportunity, and he got very, for lack of better words, compliance anxious about the program too, right? And I'm talking to the broker owner. And his group just on the buy side does 90 million a year, right? So it's a sizable shop here in Indianapolis. And what I did initially is fed him some information to just show him the HUD guidance from 2 years ago where they released this, sent that to him, and then built up towards. I did a call with Brian and I with the broker owner, and Brian was able to help me with that broker owner just with the education process on what we as an organization went through to develop these comp plans and the risks involved in doing this. And slowly his guard came down and we're moving the ball down the field, right? So sometimes it might take a yin and yang to, like any significant sales process. I've tried to make it a practice of getting to the broker owner if you can, because I think you're going to have issues if you're setting up onesie and twosie agents periodically and the broker owner finds out. So, if you're going to disrupt his culture, get him or her involved in it and endorse it in some fashion so that they get it and what's in it for them.
Yeah, these guys are all decision makers. And I mean, the one single guy, he'll do 35 million in sales this year. Okay, yep. So I'm trying to capture some more of that. But can someone send me the HUD guidance? I can maybe share that with them.
Sure. The other thing to remember, we're making him a part-time employee. Right? If there's an issue on a loan or something like that, it's not their employment at their agency. They have a separate job where they're a part-time employee of ours.
Yeah, I just have to
And-
overcome. What I need to overcome is the fear that they have to disclose this to the buyer when they're selling real estate. I am going to get compensated when you do a loan with Bill McLeod. That's where I'm having to overcome that. That's all.
Yep. I can send you the HUD guide.
Are they married?
Who
How's the
married?
wife, Patsy?
No, and I've thought about the wife. I've already brought that up too, Jason, with one person. We'll make your wife the person. I've done the TC. The TC doesn't work because, again, if they do enough volume, they end up having to pay the TC more than they're paying them now. The wife, maybe, and then these guys are all like Compass, Caldwell Banker teams. So they can make their own decision. They don't need to go to the broker.
Bill,
They
how
do
about
another-
like an adult child? Somebody just starting out in their career.
Yeah, I just got to I got to get some traction with one, because I get traction with one, then I can say, okay, here's so-and-so, you can talk to them. I'm just, just trying to figure out the path of least resistance.
Bill, you live in a blue state. That's how
I
they
know.
think in Minnesota too, bud. It's too good to be true, right? Andy,
Trust
do you
me,
think-
most
And-
of my realtors are not blue. I can assure you that.
Well, Bill, I get the same pushback on like multiple attempts, like same thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just like it's like asking the fox to man the hen house, right? Like it's just a little too close, right? So,
Yeah.
but I think one thing that I've saw or experienced indie do to have success is they've had some potential commission conversations, and I think Zach's done a really good job of this, right? Where sometimes I think agents fail to quantify the actual like risk versus reward, right? And Andy's done a great job of this with the team there in Indy, but some of the stuff like that we kind of send out is we're saying, okay, this is what we have in pipeline based on your current work agreement with us in the Remlo program. This is sort of your potential commission, and I think like if these deals close type of deal. And I think it gets buy-in from other people along the way when they actually can quantify the dollars, right? Like real estate agents, they're not good at decimals, right? I mean, when it's 0.25 or it's 50 bips, they're like, well, I don't work for less than 3%. So 300 versus 0.25, like not worth it type of thing. But when you add it all up, it's incremental income that they wouldn't necessarily have, right?
Well,
But
and for me, it's just offsetting. It's fee income to them. I mean, if you're in Denver and you do an average sales price of 700,000, we do a loan for 600,000. It's just offsetting their costs is all it does at the end of the day. And these people I'm talking to, I mean, they're in there's not a Compass, Caldwell Banker, Remax office in Colorado that doesn't have an in-house lender right now. So you're having to overcome that as well. Even though I get business, but I mean, they all have that as well.
Bill, they also have in-house title companies that pay them like pennies on the dollar when that's a high dollar thing. So you're offering them a real paycheck, and it's a fair paycheck rather than an MSA where they're getting $5,000 a month for a bunch of leads, whether their people convert them or not. So you could go the fairness route and say there's no fairer way for you to get compensated for your loyalty than for you to become an employee here with me, and then we're partners on this.
Yeah, and I think the real niche for this, so you all know, is I think it's a small builder who's doing 12 homes a year. That's where I think the deal is right there, because they are definitely greedy. They want more money.
And the RIAs, Bill, the RIAs, the truly independent investment folks are also a huge opportunity.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. You're right. All right, thank you.
Anyone else before Haley closes us up?
Hey guys, Chris, I just wanted to tell you about a video I'm going to send out. You guys were talking about, recruiting options, testimonials from people. I just did a series with Bill Bader. A lot of you guys probably know him. He is new to our company, but been in the industry for decades. I did a series with him where we just talked about some reasons that he came to Novus, and we're gonna be posting them on our LinkedIn page, using them for social content. But I'm gonna send it to everybody. I'll send one of those videos at least to everyone on this call, so you'll be getting that from me by the end of the day. Feel free to use it however you see fit.
Chris has done a ton of work in the video space for us, both in training, but also in promoting for us. So thank you, Chris, for that. The part that the part we have to figure out together is when those opportunities arise. If you would have had the conversations that I've had with Bill Bader since he joined us 45 days ago now, he's on a honeymoon. Like, he'll call me twice a week. Like, I can do this loan. I couldn't do this before. I can do this loan. I couldn't do this before. He closed a non-QM in 9 days or 11 days. He's like, not only could I have not done this at my prior company, I did it in this short period of time. And now all my realtors are talking about me. You'll feel it in the video that Chris sends, the fact that he is very, very excited to be here. Those stories are extremely replicable. And much like this call, I could have led this call if you wouldn't have listened to me for 2 seconds, because I deal with you guys on a day-to-day basis, and I know you don't listen to anything I say. Jess is in the trenches every day. Haley's in the trenches every day. All of you are in the trenches every day. The success stories of others sell better than your own. Use them. And Chris will continue to do that. If you've got somebody you think we should promote that's on your team, let's do that. There are many of you, I think, have individual success stories that we could use to promote not only us as an organization, but you as a branch, a team, an opportunity for someone to join it. That stuff gets very high watch rates on LinkedIn. I posted something a month ago and had something along the lines of 1,400 hits on it. That's the part that we need, is so that our name, regardless of the fact that I don't really think our brand is a brand, our name is recognized out there and they want to hear more.
And anytime we get one of these videos, we can send them to all of our recruits and previous contacts, people we used to manage, the whole 9 yards.
You bet.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I threw it in the chat. I will send an email as well. But yeah, if you guys want to check it out immediately, we got that. And yeah, always looking to do more too. So if you have a story you want to share, I think it would be good for our for recruiting purposes, just reach out to me. I'd love to get that recorded.
It's awesome. Thank you, guys.
I'll get the resources and scripts out to everybody in the follow-up either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Redder sign up, which we plugged at the beginning, just reach out to branch support. We're happy to get you in there. And feedback, I'll plug this in the follow-up email as well. But if there's, additional topics, or you just have questions that you didn't ask now, but you'd like to ask, please feel free to respond to that note that I send out. We can tailor future calls, but hopefully you got at least one good takeaway, whether it's, somebody you're thinking of that you want to call today, somebody, at the corporate office that you want to get somebody connected with, the resources that I'll share, or maybe one of our panelists that you want to reach out to for some more questions. We really appreciate you guys being on. Thanks for pushing to have this call, and we look forward to many more of these. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Haley.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.